So that's why I'm actually open it completely. For me, that part just fell. You see those balls? Whoa, one jumped out of there. These are rebellious guys. Look around. Let's just lift the unit. This is going to be the bottom ones. And maybe, and this is my spring. There you put the bomb. Actually, when you put it in there, it just feels, it stays flush. So, okay, appears there is a gap in between them, or should be. All sticking on the gear. So it's got very gummy, very sticky underneath the ring, which, or maybe on the ring threads. So counterclockwise to tighten down and hammer it. Right now mine did already release. I'll show at the end of the video how to remove the ring. For now, just it's already released. It's a counter. It's a clockwise release actually. And the tools that you need, what I do strongly recommend is a magnet to fish the bearing balls. I do have alcohol with me. I do have some grease, bicycle grease. And I have to say that I actually did clean the unit in the solvent overnight. It was very nicely working, clicking, and then I tried to put engine oil around here and it started to get really squeaky, good. It's just, it doesn't spin normally. So that's why I'm actually open it completely. For me, that part just fell. This is one ball that went away. So this is the locking ring right at the top, and also it's a race, has a race on it. Just grab some paper. Now the balls, I do have all the tiny balls right at the top. So this one says top on it. So fish those balls. Whoa, one jumped out of there. These are rebellious guys. Look around. Just careful with them. So let's drop them inside. Just go carefully. I don't think if you lose one is going to be that bad, but better not go there, right? Why did that one jump like that? It's against gravity. I'm not sure about this. Okay, this is the top ones. Look around, see there's none remaining, and let's just lift the unit. This is going to be the bottom ones, and maybe look underneath, so none it stays inside the glue, maybe with grease and stuff. So let me just fish the bottom ones. There you have it, all the fellas. You may actually try to count them, make sure it's the same number. I think it should be the same number. I tried to film also in front of the camera, but there's not a lot of space in front of the camera. So I can tell you that the balls do feel greasy from the oil that I get them. There's another one here. Oh, there's a bunch. So they do feel greasy, but it was very weird, the feeling right after inserting that engine oil. It just did not feel right. It was better without the engine oil, actually. So these are, I do not know the actual names. Oh, I think I know what's going on. So these are, I'm guessing these are pounds. Pounds, is that the right name? And it's the same, by the way, this one, I'm going to clean it and just put some grease in there. And I can see why it wasn't sounding normally. So these pieces here with the engine oil on them, when I press down, it's not moving smooth. It's not moving right. And I'm going to suggest that just you notice there is absolutely no grit, no dirt. It's just very, very clean inside. Look at my hands. Yes, it's not clear, but it's not, there is no dirt. And in a moment, I'll show you these rings. So I'm going to suggest that engine oil, it's not going to help. You can hear the sound it makes. It's not good. This, I'm glad I did open it. Now there's some spacers. Spacers? Is that spacers? Go very gently because they appear to be very, very flimsy, and I'm going to try to keep them in order. There appears to be 3 of them. I'm just trying to feel for any roughness. So these are going to get cleaned and not lubricate. I'm not going to lubricate them because there is no friction between those. It's just to, from what I understand, is just to give the exact gap when you tighten down the rings. So these are not friction parts, no grease, no oil on them. Make sure you got all of them out of there. It's just 3 of them. This is, I believe, is a Chinese replacement unit that you find on eBay. Actually, you see it even says China here. It's not the original one. I got this bike secondhand. Now, the spring, we are going to release this spring. And it looks like there is 2 ends. I just want to make sure it's symmetrical. So the spring starts here. It's like, makes like an L. This is a spring that secures the 2, perhaps pounds, what the name is. So the end of the spring is here and the other end is here. So you can tell the end is straight here and bent here. So I'm going to lift it from there. And just, sorry, let's do this from the camera. So just lift it on the L. I'm going to just bring it to the top. And this is my spring. And may I suggest, let's see, let's keep those pieces in place. May I suggest this L, let's see, I can film this, the L sits upwards. And by the way, maybe, yeah, nice smell. Maybe you wonder about these videos. I have a lot of the do-it-yourself videos on my channel. One of the reasons I'm making videos is so I remember how to do it if I need to do it again. And that's for cars, whatever the things I do on my computer, especially I have a playlist with tricks about computers. I mean, whatever programs we have on computers. So that's one of the reasons I am doing these videos. Okay, so this is really, really simple design. There's nothing here. There's no shaft, nothing. It just stays in there. And the camera perhaps is not focusing, but you can tell the way it goes is with this bump. Let's see if it's symmetrical. I think it's symmetrical, although I see more wear on one side. This bump will go into the groove that you see here, just this groove. There you put the bump. Actually, when you put it in there, it just feels, it stays flush. So it's very easy. You can get it, to put it on the other side. That's not a problem. There's no way you won't put it upside down. It won't stay. It won't fit in there. It's just like this, basically. You can interchange them, and when you put back that spring, remember to engage the small L at one of these gaps if you want. It's like a cut. I think you can put it also on the other one, either one, it doesn't matter. And just make sure you overlap the spring, because the spring goes into the groove in the middle of this piece, actually of the both pieces. And this is what keeps them in place. It's just a spring. At this point, I'm going just to, yeah, the race looks very, very clean, very nice. I'm going just to degrease it, throw everything. I'm going to throw everything into alcohol 99%. I like 99% because it evaporates quickly. It has no water in it, so you work quickly with it. And let's see the second part of the video, how to put this thing back in place. And I'm telling you, as long as you don't lose the balls, and you notice I'm working on a plastic piece because it's oily, but also because it keeps the balls from running away from you. This is a very great advice. And make sure you don't have, you are not on a surface with cracks and stuff like this. That's another thing. But as long as you don't lose the balls, I think this is not a difficult job. I did ask on a forum, I already did this job on the other type of cassette, and it's not a difficult job as long as you use that magnet thing to fish the balls. And we are going to just put grease on the race and place the balls on the race. And you will see there are tricks that makes this job, in my opinion, quite easy actually. So don't run away because you can buy this for $25 or I don't know how much, because at some point you won't even find them online or in stores. So if you can rebuild one, don't be afraid of this. Just use the right tips. Let me clean this thing out and come back with reinstalling all the things. Time for a family photo. And these are the balls that go at the bottom. I did count them. They are 33, and at the top it's 31 on this unit. So 33 at the bottom race, 31 at the top race. And it makes sense because when you look carefully, which is not very clear in the video, the bottom race is slightly larger than the top one. So it has more bars. I think the bars are pretty much the same diameter, top and bottom. This is a good way to clean the balls. Just put them on a paper towel, obviously careful not to make them run away. Wet it with alcohol and just rub them like this. Careful, go gently. Okay, let's put these balls together now. So we are going to work on this little guy. I'm going to first add the two pieces, which I have no idea what the name is. Pounds? I'm not even French speaking. English is my third language, so all those, this is just a light bicycle grease, light one, not heavy. I think it's important. So I was saying, I speak 3 languages and English is not my first language. Just a smell of grease where those pieces sit, really just smear. I don't need to grease where the spring sits, just in there. The other one too. So notice the places where the pieces sit are the larger cuts. These are just for the spring ends. I think I took a little bit too much grease. I'm going to leave a bit on the race. So really just a smear at that place, like this. I'm going to remove some here. It doesn't matter if the spring has grease on it. Never put grease on the threads. Be really careful. If you smear the threads with grease, at the end, wipe it off with alcohol. Very important part. Grease on threads is changing the torque, and you are going to over torque the thing. It's, I don't know, in my opinion, it's not a good thing. Now, for the race, my idea is to put enough grease so the balls will stick in the grease. If you just put a smear of grease, the balls will not stick in there when you place them. So there has to be a certain amount, but not too much. I realize I don't always have my the pieces in the camera, the center of the camera. Sorry about that. So I'm trying to think about working and filming at the same time. The downside of much grease in here is that it will get on those two pieces, pounds, and they may get sticky. So it's sort of a balance, I think. Okay, the camera it's at an angle here where I work, and this is not not easy to film. Keep my hand underneath the camera and do this the work at the same time. Okay, this is one thing. Let's get those 2 pounds. Pounds is that? So we put the bumpy side. Whoops. Bumpy side goes into the bigger groove. Just place it. It stays in the with the grease as well. Let's move to the other side. Bumpy side in the groove. Now placing the spring again with the, I did notice it has the tip at the top. I'm going to place first the small L end in one of these cuts, and I'm going to overlap it over the, let's just try to place it first at the top and try to bring it. You may want to use some tools at this point, but these are fairly tiny parts. So I'm going to grab the tip, that L part, and just bring it here in the groove. I'm going to keep that piece in place and overlap the spring and try to film in the process, which is very amusing. Not much. Keep the small pawn in place. I think I should have put the racing grease, the grease on the race at the end, not at this moment. I put it too early, but right now it's too late. Just running my hand. I keep the spring with my fingernail, and I'm going to overlap it at over the second piece. There you have it, a nice click. Let's just try to use some paper towel. And my hands are dirty at this point. Let's try to wipe them clean. I'll show in a moment how it sits in there. Again, I try not to touch the threads, but if I would grease the thread at the top, which I think I already did, I'm going to wipe it clean so the spring sits all the way into its groove and it's coming into the groove of the pounds. If I do did enrich the vocabulary, just correct me. So let's just move these pounds. Maybe it's a good idea to place some grease into the cut on the pound. So let's get this, because there is friction between the spring and the cut inside the pound. Just a small smear, and anyway we need to just smear a bit the pound as well. So I'm going to move it to make sure there is no friction. There you see it makes kind of a noise. And I can tell you the difference between the grease and the engine oil it's completely different. The engine oil would cause friction at this point, while this one, it's just moving very smoothly. Same on here, just a tad. I'm going just to try to insert. I should have added grease before placing the piece, just in that cut. Okay, let's shake it a bit so the grease gets into in between the spring and the piece. Okay, that's a nice movement. I don't want too much grease on these bits here, so they don't become sticky. So I'm just going to wipe off any excess. Recheck my race. You notice that was a mistake to put grease on the race at this point or at this step, but now it's done. So I'm just removing a little bit of it, spreading it again. So it's not too much of it, but enough to keep the balls. Okay, that's it for now. Let's what can I do? Let's try to just looking where to put my Q-tip with that grease on it, so I don't smear grease everywhere here. Okay, let's place the balls. Obviously, this is done by hand at this point. For the bottom ones, just go all around and put them close to each other. and don't drop them like I just did. If you drop them, make sure you are above something like table. And I like to roll them a little bit. This will just spread the grease on the ball, and the ball will just stick better. Yes, definitely I need to clean the thread, top thread at the end before tightening the ring, the locking ring on it. Okay, so all these guys go without spacing between them. In the end, this is just a matter of being patient, I guess. Let's keep distancing them, social distancing. It seems there's the virus didn't go away, but I don't know. We still got this frenzy in the media, not too much, but I'm not calling, so I wasn't against the epidemic reaction. I think it was a good thing to protection and all the stuff for an epidemic, but hopefully it's going to go away. So okay, appears there is a gap in between them, or should be. I'm not sure I was right in front of the camera, but oops, one of the balls did stick to my hand. I apologize for the quality of the filming. I'm just making sure they are seated correctly in there. Okay, so it stays like this. I will clean the thread at the end. Right now what I want to do is smear some grease on the clicks. Call them clicks, just right there. And this is again going to be really a smear, not putting a double grease, just a very small amount. Grease will stay there, it's not a problem with it. And yeah, this is, I believe, yes, this is the race, the opposite part. So let's just lube a bit that race too, just like that. It's less obvious the way it looks, but it's still a race in there. The rest of the grease will come from the balls, and also these clicks, call them clicks if you want, a bit of grease on them. This is where the pounds will just run. That's it. Really, perhaps you can see that it's almost invisible, the amount of grease I put in there. All right, putting back the this goes over the centerpiece. Now I know there is a I think that these pounds just need to be depressed when you place it back in place. Let's just try to hook the pounds. Let's pause a bit. I'm going just to put the bigger part over one of the pound, just crush it and try to close it over the second one. All this without touching the balls. Okay, I think it went pretty much nicely in there. So I've seen someone with a like an elastomer or something like this, but like I said, maybe you want to do it to see it again. Let's just clean a bit the place. There's too much trash in there. So I don't think those pounds need to be really just making sure. Yeah, just let's retrieve this bolt, put it back in place. These pounds need to be crushed before you place the bigger part. Just go on like go on, move it offset on one side, grab a palm, crush it, and then flip the piece on the other side, and it seems to be just falling over the palm just easily. Maybe try to engage one of the palms, the first palm in one of the cuts in the click, in between the clicks, you know, so this way the palm it's actually open. I hope I'm clear. So try to engage the tip of the palm in between those, one of those two pieces. And this way you may need to rotate this thing. Obviously you won't see it in the camera, but I'm just engaging that palm on that side. I'm overlapping it, and now I'm going to lower it and just close that palm. Let's try it with this. I think the first time went easier. Obviously you need to think about the tiny balls. Let's try with the other palm, maybe the right one. Maybe rotate. Okay, oh, there is a move. For sure there is a move. I'm not sure how to describe it, but for sure you just, let's check for the balls. No balls. For sure it's just like wiggle it, swinging like this, but also rotate it a little bit. At some place the palms will just slide in between two clicks easily, and I'm not even compressing them. So there is certainly just a small, oh actually it went right way. So it isn't really anything special about it, but you need to match the palms perhaps in between, keep the centerpiece from rotating and just match the palms in between. Oh, it went right away. So there's nothing there. It's, you need to match the palms in between one of those clicks, both of them. So that's why you want to maybe keep the centerpiece in place and just let it lower this guy, let it drop, and just find that place where the palms are going to engage in between the clicks. Oops, that ball that dropped? No. And when you lift it, make sure there is no ball sticking on the gear. So it's hard for me to describe more than this, but this is just, it dropped in there. It's just dropped in there. Make sure you click the bottom. Oops, there's two balls, two rebellious balls. Let's just grab them and put them into place. I think it's interesting to see this. I'm not a professional, oops, but you see the what's happening behind the various editing software that one may use in these videos. And I wish I could describe you in some words how to place the bigger component in place, but just go gently and you'll see it should drop in place. Let's call it like this. Okay, I have some balls that are not in order. Make sure all the balls sit at their position. And for the third to fourth time, I think. There you go. Just like that. I'm not magician. Make sure no ball sticks outside, so which means all the balls are inside at this point. I think, yeah, this, when you let it sit on the table, it keeps all the balls in place. Now next point is to clean the to grease the the upper race. My suggestion would be to look the upper race separately before placing it on the centerpiece, or before placing the centerpiece, yeah, before putting them together. Off camera, I did clean the threads. I did use alcohol to make sure they are clean, and also I did add grease at the upper race here. So the upper race, it's this area here is like, is like an edge, it's like a bump here at the bottom that you see right here near the top, but this is where the balls, upper bars are running. And now it's time to place this thing. I can actually also add the spacer as this point, at this point, all the three of them. Just drop them in there. They sit nicely at the top here. Make sure they are all the way down. So I'm just redoing this for you, maybe to, I'm going to say, gain confidence that it's doable and it's not difficult. But you don't need anything else. And again, I haven't done this. This is the first time I'm doing this thing. Actually, the second time I've done one a few years ago. So again, try to engage 1 pound, rotate a little bit so it gets in between 2 clicks, and it just drops in place. So you compress 1 pound, and then the second it engages. I don't know if just replay the video, just checking for the ball. So no ball did escape. Okay, no ball did escape. And notice I'm keeping the centerpiece with my finger so it doesn't drop. Right? So, and that's the whole movement. And there's nothing else I can say about this, but it's not something special to put it back in place. Now all I need to do is drop my tiny balls in there, and plenty of these guys. I think it should be more than that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just use a straw here. You can drop them in there, but it's going to be messy, and if you drop them in there and if you try to rearrange them, you are going to smear the thread with grease. So I don't want that. So I got a small piece of straw, and I'm just going to aim and drop the balls one by one. Again, let's free the guys and hope they don't run too far away. And just perhaps, let me see if the camera is showing this correctly. Trying to work behind the camera, it's not easy. Okay, that's the straw. So I'm dropping a ball in here and I'm aiming at the place, and the little guy, it's right where it should be. So that's how I'm going to do it. And oops, I can tell you maybe another trick. So again, dropping the ball near the first one, and it's gone. It's sitting very, very nicely there, just like little puppies. I kind of like to say puppies in my video. I don't know why, because I don't really like dogs, but it's just fun to say it. One other thing is, if you have a screwdriver, the Chinese one that's not magnetized, you can add a magnet at the top of it, which will give it magnetic power. So it's going to grab balls, and when you want to, this one is magnetic, I cannot do it, but when you want to drop the ball, you just release the magnet, you just remove it from there. And normally, if the screwdriver is not magnetized, the ball should fall, but this one, it's magnetized, but so it doesn't work. But this is just another trick to actually to place a ball at some place. Just saying, just while we are at it. So continue with my straw. Yes, you need to be patient for this job, I agree, but I don't see how this job is difficult. As long as you can undo the locking ring. And I'm just keeping you a discussion right now, keep talking with you, but at the end of the video I'll show how I did remove this locking ring, because I don't have the special tool, but I do have something to punch it, but mine was very stock. And at first I thought I cannot remove it. By the way, Freewells, I'm not a specialist, but what the forums say, Freewells like this locking ring, it's released clockwise, reverse thread. So be careful with this. Mine was very stuck, I was saying, and I think the reason is that all grease got underneath the locking ring, and it's got very gummy, very sticky underneath the ring, or maybe on the ring threads, which prevented it from being freed. So what I did, I just spread oil. I'll show that at the end of the video, by the way. I did spread oil on the locking ring and the oil, engine oil, or you can use penetrating oil, and that just let it sit maybe overnight or so, and it's going to melt whatever it's sticky underneath or on the threads, and that will help you free it actually. One thing here is that when I'm going to place the locking ring, the balls need to sit somehow towards away the locking ring, because the locking ring is the second part of the race. So it has to slide in between the ball and the center piece, the bottom of the ring, that is this kind of center piece here has to slide in between. I'll try to just place the balls towards the exterior of this race, and this way they should make that place for the locking ring to be put in place basically. Four more balls, looking for a place for each one, maybe even start. Let's try to do this with some handy tool such as a toothpick, not a toothpick, but just compress them and try to toss them towards the exterior. I think they pretty much sit towards the exterior. Yeah, they sit by themselves. It's okay. And there's one more to go. It's tighter right now, I guess, but it's not too difficult to make space for the last one. There you have it, almost. Okay, they sit very, very nicely. Thank you for being cooperative. And again, my my spacer are in there, are sitting in there, in the center. And now just a matter of, oops, did you see that? These guys are a little bit rebellious. So just dropping the thing. I think I've seen someone placing grease on one video, but I'm not comfortable about that. It's just me. So counterclockwise to tighten down. And in theory, because of those spacers, the three, by the way, those three spacer kind of rings, big shims, if you want, they are very fragile. So when you want to clean them or be gently, very gently with each one of them, do that separately and go careful so you don't bend them. That's the point. Right now, I'm not going to hit it for tightening down, fully tightening down. I have to say I did clean the threads both on the locking ring and on the center piece, so it's very smooth. It turns very smoothly when I tighten it down. If you want, maybe check. So let's try to spin the thing. Hopefully the locking ring won't release by itself. So do it like this. Obviously, for now, there is, and just try to spin it off camera because there's not enough space behind the camera, but it's just a matter of distributing the grease, spreading the grease evenly. And I can tell you something, I'll show you in a moment in the camera, just like breaking the ink if you want. So it's not noisy, it's quiet. Let's listen. You can even hear the balls running. And if I give it a small kick, My camera went out of memory, so I had to delete a video. But I was saying I'm going just to give it a kick, just kick like this and see how long it spins. Oh, let me just get the space here. So I think it's reasonable. Let's just listen the clicks, just click by click if you want. It's very nice, very smooth feeling. And the clicks also are very cool to hear. Okay, let's see how I did remove the locking ring, which was very stuck on my on this unit that I have here. It's something I did film before this video. To release the locking ring, I do have my 2-feet bar. I keep it in between my legs, and this is the spline piece. It's all the way inserted. I have a video how to show where I show how to insert this all the way in. You need to lime them. The Chinese one just goes one millimeter deep, and that's not good. You need to lime them around so they go all the way to the bottom. That's how you really keep them secured. So I keep this bar from rotating with my knees. It's on the floor, and the locking ring it's released clockwise. It's a reverse thread only on free welds. And I have just kind of, if you want, a hole chisel that I can put. There is a tiny hole, actually there's 2 of them. I put it into the hole, give it the most horizontal angle, don't keep it vertical, it's not going to work. Horizontal, and hammer it. Right now mine did already release. I can tell you something, it was insanely stuck. I hammered it for a long time, it didn't budge, and what happened is that some old gunk oil gets underneath the ring and it gets like a glue underneath the ring. So what you need to do at that point, get penetrating oil, engine oil, whatever you want, and smear a few droplets right here at the center of the ring, not on the outer part of the ring, at the center where it meets this center piece, right around it. Oil, let it sit overnight. The oil will get underneath and will just unstuck it. One suggestion, when you tighten down the lock ring, so you go counterclockwise, you keep the center piece fixed and you just rotate it counterclockwise to tighten down. I would suggest tighten it a little bit, then spin the unit and feel if it's free to spin, then tighten some more. And at some point, if you feel at some amount of tightness, it no longer spins that freely, just release a little bit the tightness on the lock ring. You see, on my unit, those 3 shims, it's what actually keeps the gap at the top raised. So there is not too much friction on the balls. My 3 shims appear to be really flattened. They are very thin, but mine appear to be very crushed and flattened because probably of too much torque originally. And that will actually reduce the gap available for the balls, and it will cause too much friction on the balls, so the unit will not spin that freely. That's why I would just for me, but I just want to share this with you, I'm not going to torque this ring too much, or at least I'm going to tighten it just enough so it still feels free to spin. And maybe you are going to think, oh yes, but what if the locking ring will release while you ride the bike? That's not going to happen normally, even if it's not really torqued down, because this is a reverse thread. And the way this works, and this is actually the reason for being reverse thread, is when it rotates, the balls inside apply a friction force counterclockwise on the ring. So actually the forces while you ride the bike on the ring are this way, which is actually the tightening way. So when you ride the bike and you are in the free wheel, it makes that click. When you don't pedal, actually the balls have the tendency to tighten down the lock ring. So there is no way normally it will just loosen up by itself, just release and unscrew by itself while you ride the bike. This is the reason it's being made reverse thread. There you go.